I recently sat down with Grant Cardone and picked his brain for almost an hour. It was an unbelievable experience. And I really wanted to know his money strategy for those of us in very high stress professions: doctors, dentists, veterinarians, attorneys, CRNAs, engineers, whatever. Now, if you want to watch that entire video, I've put the link below this one. Now, I went through that interview and I pulled out the top 5 ways of how millionaires really create wealth. It really doesn't matter what you do for a living. Anybody can do this, as the majority of millionaires today are self made. Look, my parents weren't wealthy, but they gave my brother and I all they could. And you know what? We never wanted for anything. And we had a great childhood. So today, the 7 figure net worth that I've built hasn't come from any person or any source except for me. So don't think you can't do this, because you know what? You can. Now, if you're new here, I'm Dr. Jeff Anzalone, periodontist from Louisiana, that wants to teach you how to build wealth with passive income. Now, I've put together a very quick start guide for you that you can download with the link below this video. All right, so here's what I've learned about wealthy people. It really doesn't matter what profession you're in, whether you're an engineer, plumber, doctor, pharmacist, chiropractor, whatever. But there's 5 things that they all have in common. Remember, these are the people that have made it from nothing, not the ones that were born with the silver spoon in their mouth. All right, let's get right into it. Number one, they save. No, they do not save their money. Instead, they invest it. All right, so what do you mean? Well, the wealthy, they the wealthy don't get that way. They don't get their wealth or build their wealth by saving money in a bank or in a savings account under their mattress, or like Pablo Escobar inside the walls of their house, where they have to burn it when they're cold. Instead, they invest their money. And you're never going to create wealth working at your job or your career. I'm never going to create real wealth here treating patients. And the only way that you can do that is through investing. Now, I have calls each and every week with new members of my real estate investors circle. And what they tell me is they've been learning about real estate, watching YouTube videos, they've been reading books, they've been going to meetings, they've been doing all this stuff, yet they never actually pull the trigger and put their money to invest. Many tell me that they've been saving their money, waiting for a good deal to come around. And I asked them, well, okay, well, how long have you been waiting? One guy not that long ago told me he's been waiting over 7 years. Can you imagine 7 years? No wonder he's still searching and trying to figure out how to build wealth. So the first way the wealthy become wealthy is to quit saving their money. Now, I realize that maybe your parents or your grandparents or whatever, they maybe they operated in this fashion. I don't know. Maybe they just saved money and they didn't leverage it into something like real estate or other cash flow producing assets, because they were what? They were terrified. They were scared of losing money. My grandmother lived in the Depression. She was very, very frugal with her money. She was scared. They had this extreme fear of losing money, and they didn't want to waste anything. You know what? I completely understand that. But there are asset classes out there where the likelihood of losing money is very, very small. All right, so that's number one. Number two, the wealthy, they avoid the get rich quick. So they don't get rich quick. What they want to do is they want to get rich for sure. So what do you mean by that? Well, the second thing on our list is the millionaires. They avoid the get rich quick schemes. They want to get rich for sure. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't want to get rich quick. I want to make sure that I get rich. Well, how long it takes doesn't really matter for me, as long as I reach my goal. And I want to be able to invest my money in something like an asset, where I'm able to get a tax write-off and other benefits such as cash flow and long-term appreciation. That's how the really wealthy people operate. They don't take a lot of chances with their money. Number three, the rich invest in assets that appreciate over time. Now, if you take a look at the really, really wealthy people like Warren Buffett, I mean, like the billionaires, what do? Well, they invest in assets that tend to appreciate over time. They control things that they know over time have a 99% chance that they're going to what? That they're going to go up in value. And then that's simply what they invest their money in. And one of the ways that they do that, of course, is through real estate. You know what? It really doesn't matter what happens in this country. At the end of the day, we all need a place to live, right? So instead of these people focusing on creating or investing in the next latest greatest startup app or something like that, because the chances of that thing succeeding is what? It's much lower than something like real estate that has a solid 100, 200, 300-year track record, right? Look, I trained for a lot of years. I started this practice. I've hired people. I continue to hire people. I have to manage those people. I'm constantly marketing this practice so it'll continue to grow. I keep everything organized and running to provide the best value that I can for our patients. Now, you know what? If you own your own business or you own your own practice, then you understand all of this hard work it takes to manage all these things, keep everything running. You know, there's a lot of risk to starting a business. There's a lot of downside. There could be a lot of problems, a lot of headaches. But with the real estate that we invest in passively, I virtually have zero issues compared to the value of the portfolio. Look, I'm not involved with the day-to-day management and all the headaches of running these different properties that I'm invested in. I leave that to somebody else. And then what do? I sit back, I collect the quarterly distributions, and I continue to watch these properties appreciate over long periods of time. And I'm really just doing the same thing that these wealthy people do. I mean, why not? It's already been done for us, right? You know, we can simply copy it. Why try to reinvent the wheel? All right, moving on to number 4. They invest in assets that cash flow. Now, out of all the 5 strategies that we're going to discuss today, this one, invest in assets that cash flow, if you follow that, if you stick to that, it will completely change your life. Now, when I first started practicing, I was completely bombarded by all the local financial planners and insurance people in our area. It was literally like a bunch of vultures circling over a dead piece of meat. It was just crazy. But what I realized, all of them kept saying the same thing over and over. Hey, Jeff, look, all you got to do is invest with me for like 40 years in a 401k. And then when you turn 70, because at the time I was 30, then when you turn 70, guess what? You'll be rich. Well, since that was really the only thing that I kept hearing and that they had to offer, well, at that time I bought into it. But then as time went by, I realized I didn't want to rely on giving 100% of control to people to handle my money. I started really becoming a student of the money game, and I realized that the wealthy people, guess what? They don't just have one income stream, they have a bunch of them. But wait, here I was, a periodontist in this office, going to work, treating patients each and every day, but at the end of the day, I only had just one income stream. Yet here are these other people, these wealthy people with like 10, 12, 15 plus income streams coming in. And if anything, if you set your financial situation up like this, it really helps to tremendously what? Lower or reduce the risk over time, right? So if you take a look at what's happening these days with healthcare, specifically healthcare professionals, they're quitting or they're getting fired left and right. Actually, this year, as I'm recording this video, over 500,000 healthcare professionals said, you know what, we've had enough. And they quit their jobs. 500,000 people. That's incredible. They're stressed out, they're burned out, they're tired of being taken advantage of the system. But if they only have one income stream and they follow this advice, these typical financial advisors, to invest in a 401k for 40 years, then guess what? They're trapped. They're trapped in their situation. No wonder burnout and the suicide rates are sky high these days. They don't have any other choice, but they do. And that's what I'm trying to tell you today. You do have a choice, and you can start today and tell yourself that you're going to make some changes. You're going to focus on the 5 things that we're talking about today. And then not only are you going to focus on them, you're going to take action. So instead of only investing in a retirement account, you're going to invest in assets that give you something. Maybe just give you like when I started off, it gives you like a little drip every quarter. And then guess what? Over time, several months, several years, those little drips become much bigger drips. Okay. Now, currently, I'm in about my 6.5 year of investing in real estate, and currently, I have 8 income streams outside of my practice, and this really helps put my mind at ease, knowing that what, if something happens to me, then my wife and kids will be taken care of. Because if not, and I only had this practice, and something happened to me, then eventually probably it would be sold, and then what? Well, that's it. That's the end of the income stream. But with assets that continue to cash flow once I'm gone, they're going to have a much better life and future. All right. And the last secret that self-made millionaires are tend to do is they invest in assets that give them tremendous tax benefits. Now, this is a complete game changer for the high income earner, the doctor, or whatever. Um, it's the wealth builder that really many of us go through our entire life and we don't have a clue about until many times it's too late. Now, on the interview, Grant Cardone told me that he really didn't learn about this until he was like 50 years old. But then once he learned about it, he took full advantage of it and now has like over 4 billion with the B, $4 billion of real estate assets under management. That's incredible. So the wealthy, the really super wealthy, they know that there's a difference between different types of debt. There's good debt and there's bad debt. And they know that they have to use good debt, and they can take that and create these massive tax benefits from these different assets. So they actually get 100% of the money out of their assets without paying any taxes. So this is a super tax loophole that the wealthy have been using just for years. So investing in real estate and starting businesses provide the best tax advantages there is. Why? Well, because the IRS, they really want two things from us. They want us to start businesses. Why? Well, when you start a business, what do? You employ people. Whenever you employ people, what do they have to do? They have to pay taxes, right? So they're encouraging people to start businesses that will employ people, which creates more tax revenue for them. That's the first thing. The second thing is they want us to own and invest in real estate. Why? Well, we're giving their citizens, we're giving Americans a place to live because the government does not want to get into the landlord business. Now, that's it. So 99.5% of the tax code tells you and me how not to pay taxes using, the two things that we just talked about. Yet, what do most of us do? Myself included in the past. We're focused on that small section of the tax code that tells us how to pay taxes instead of the larger section that tells us how not to pay taxes. So I hope these 5 wealth building secrets of millionaires provided you with some value today. And if you want to continue learning more about this, continue learning, keep the learning process going about investing for cash flow like me and paying as little tax legally as possible, then I want you to head on over to this video and we're going to talk about how you can get started with passive real estate. Take care, and I'll see you over there.